Hey, old soul. Just over a year ago, I sold everything I owned and moved to the land of Bali with my ex husband and 3 kids. Now I live my dream life, traveling first class around the world, teaching others how to do the same. If you are ready for a life that is so abundant and free, where money flows like air so effortlessly that you don't even care because you are simply focusing on you and allowing everything to be true, then you are exactly where you need to be. Let me teach you how to be wildly abundant and insanely free. Hello, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Vibration of Wealth podcast. I am so excited today because we have a beautiful soul from down under, from Sydney, Australia, which obviously you guys have been tuning in. You know, I'm from Australia as well, but been living in Bali for the last 3 years. So it's very exciting to channel and tune in with another beautiful soul who is in that place of this beautiful earth. Jenna, welcome, welcome, welcome. Can you tell us a little bit about you, how you got to where you are today? Because let's face it, the work we do is not conventional. It was not a part of the school system when we were growing up. We'll put it that way.
So true. Thank you for having me. So good to speak with you. Yeah, so I'm Jenna Black. That question, I always love when I get asked this question because I'm like, where am I going to begin on the timeline? I'll speak to the work that I do and then I'll speak to sort of the key moments. But I work with visionary women, really soul-led leaders in this world. And I call myself a retired business coach because I don't, that was sort of like the foundation of my entrepreneurial journey. And then I quickly evolved out of that and went deeper into the soul work and the energetic work. And I support women who are here with big missions and help them step back into their divinity, their true power. I'm a big believer in creating wealth on every level, not just financial. I want us all to feel energetically, spiritually, mentally, emotionally wealthy as well. And that's a really big part of my mission. And the starting point, I guess, for me was I grew up in a very atheist household. I grew up with like parents who just the dogma was atheism. And so as a little kid, about 4 or 5 years old, my daughter's 5 now, so this is so present for me just watching her, but I was always, sensing energy and seeing things that the adults couldn't see. And I'm like, what is going on here? But then drilled into me that that doesn't exist, source doesn't exist, anything like that. And so my journey was, of course, I went into this family where it's shut down. All the spiritual frequency work was shut down. It wasn't believed in, it wasn't cultivated. And I went through such a big season of my life where I really hid that and hid, the knowings that I had inside and the divine intelligence that I was carrying inside. And it wasn't until I became like 15, 16 and fell into a really bad period of my life where I had severe depression, was very much bullied at school, attempted suicide at that time, and then had a near-death experience essentially, which I always call it that moment where I feel like it was the first time I actually heard from God and from divinity that it's not the time to go. Like you have more to do. And that catapulted everything in a new direction for me. And it was like years of hiding it still, but just like internally, just figuring out like, what am I here to do in this world and what matters and what is life and what is consciousness? And, just went down decades of experiencing that until I came into the entrepreneurial space and very much led myself through my soul guidance and through my intuition. And over time, that's developed into coming deeper into my connection to source and to divinity and to the frequency that we really are, and just seeing life so differently to how I have ever before. And now I believe my mission is to bring through divine intelligence and wisdom and our true state of wealth and remind women of who they are. And, my brand Woman of Wealth is all about coming back to that internal state of power and creating legacies and lives that change the world and that ripple the frequency of the world. So there's a lot more obviously in that story, but that's the sort of
Oh
highlight
my
if we can
gosh.
go there.
I was like, are you reading my story? Like literally, like exactly, literally the same. My youngest is 5, all the things, atheist
Okay.
parents,
Mm,
many times in the year for trying to kill myself, 15 to 18. Like
mm,
I was just like,
mm.
wow, this it's so powerful. And for anyone listening, and I think what I really want to like really preface on a deep level is we're both doing very, very similar work and we're here to lift each other up. We're here to support. I always look at other female leaders like you and I'm like, yes, we need more people leading this work because
Mm.
this is everything. This is the ascension. I always say ascension's not upwards, it's inwards. We've got to
Yeah.
walk through and go deeper. And what I'm so excited to play with today is how you see wealth, how
Mm.
you activate the wealth codes within your clients, how
Yeah.
you really came to your own with your medicine because it's not easy work to wake up and go, oh, okay, I was chosen for this. Like, okay, guys, I'm the person that's going to help you, and you kind of like fall over the first few years, and you're like, am I really meant to be doing this? Like, is this like I'm
Right.
crazy? Like,
Yeah.
we were kind of like the new Earth leaders, and we're using all this stuff, and then we wake up and we're like, actually, most people think we're crazy. Like this work is not for the masses yet, although I do believe by the end of our lifetime, even mid lifetime, everyone is starting to awaken. So I'd love you just to share how you came into this medicine, how you really started to see that you were chosen for this work, and
Mm.
how you see wealth and how you've helped so many people activate the wealth within them because you were brave enough to step forward and go, okay, fuck it, I'll do this. Like I am powerful. I
Yeah.
can do this. I can lead.
Yeah, absolutely. I love firstly the similarities of our story. That's so interesting. And with wealth for me has developed and it continues to develop in terms of my relationship with it because as I said, my big mission is wealth on every level. Yes, of course, the financial piece is important. And to me, money and I are one now. That's such a code for me. It's like there's no separation. I used to have the belief that money flowed to me. Now I know it flows through. And
Mm,
that's huge. And that's something that I feel a lot of my clients like remember and reveal when they're working in my energy field. It's like we're all just one energy. It's all there. It's all optimal. It's all available. But beyond the money piece, because I think, it's so easy to hear wealth and immediately think of money, and that's where most people go. And of course, that's important and amazing. But wealth to me and that journey of discovering it and the energy that I bring around it now, it really came from just leaning into that intuitive power that was showing me, like, take this step, move here, be this, like, let go of that person, let go of that relationship, shift out of this job, like, go for it. And just sort of trusting that energetic pull. Um, and I think, early days of my entrepreneurial journey and like starting my first businesses, I mean, I'm one of those people that had like a million ideas as a teenager, like, let me do this and this and this. And, I sold seashells when I was like 5 years old. So I was like, I've been an entrepreneur since I was five. Would gather them off the beach and then sell them to my aunties and uncles. But I laugh about that because it's like that really has just been there, that intuitive nudge, right? And following that when the external world says don't.
mm,
And when I've had, a family unit that said, no, don't do that, that's too risky. So I think
mm,
wealth to me, firstly, is a state of being, and recreating, it's reconstructing safety, I believe. Like that's the more I experience wealth frequency and the more that I invite my clients into that, it's this experience of knowing how safe we are when we experience ourselves as divine beings. Because
mm,
the world will tell us that we're not safe if we don't have enough in our bank account, or we're not safe if we're trusting our intuition and creating a new earth business or going for what our soul is calling us to. That's the story, that's the narrative. And so wealth to me is a frequency of deeply reclaiming our power. And I think that's, really where the work for me is going now. It's energetic, it's spiritual, it's feeling that deep connection to what I call our God wealth and that divine frequency that's alive, that current that lives through us, life force energy. I know this is all the work that you do as well. And it's so deeply liberating when I work with my clients and see them return back to that. Because it's really just activating what's already there. Um, so yeah, I think, I probably lost track on the question, but that's really where it comes to. It's that wealth, multidimensional wealth for me now is so key because I want to see women like you and I and the clients that we get to support running amazing businesses, but beyond that, like feeling that they can take time off, that they can be with their kids and laugh and not feel like this pressure, right, to perform or to keep going. And I think true wealth is that state of being ultimately that we come back to.
Yeah, I love that so much. It's the what you said about remembering and coming back home because it makes me laugh because it's so simple, but we're so conditioned that it's like, what do you mean I can just sit on my couch and drink coffee and get paid? It's like you come into the reality and you accept that air is a given, but you can't
Mm,
accept that money's just a given because you just
mm,
came here to create and the job is to create, not to worry about all the resources that are need to fulfill the creation.
yeah,
It's like you
yeah,
just create, and through creating, like neither one of us is sitting here going, well, we're going to do this podcast and we're going to get 10,000 clients from it. And we're going to like, we don't think like that. We're just like, use me as a vessel, like, whatever feels aligned. If this didn't feel aligned for you, your team would have said no to my team. Like it's like living in this beautiful state of truth that
yes.
just like when it feels aligned, when it feels open, you're just moving through that. So what and it's so interesting because like we just have such similar stories. And I always say like I just kept listening to the calls that were so illogical. And I
Mm,
think we forget because we did so much isolation. We really had to like sit with ourselves and go through that journey. We forget how hard it is for a lot of people to remember how powerful they are and how easy it is like for us because we did walk through the darkness at such a young age and we had
yeah.
to hold those frequencies. So I'm curious what you would say to a woman or how you've worked with clients of yours that are really struggling in the void, like really struggling in that in between place where they know they were made for more, they're ready for the vision, they've pretty much said goodbye to all the toxic relationships in their life. They're starting to move with truth and less conditioning, but all the doubts coming up, all the chaos is coming up, and they're just like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I can do this. Am I crazy? Like, and it's
Yeah.
you're like, you want to go back to the old life. You were made for more, but you're just like, I'm crazy. Like it's like all the stuff is coming up. How do you help someone return back to home when they're going through that crazy transition?
Absolutely. Such a good question because it's such a deep part of my work. And
Mm,
I call it the divine rearrangement
yeah.
because it's literally like we've pulled all the puzzle pieces apart, right? And we've released a lot of them. So, of course, it's going to recalibrate. And most people will go, like, I always see it as like the human self will like pump the brakes and
Yeah.
like elongate the experience because something must be wrong, right? And I've been through that so many times. And I think that's where now, having moved through it so many times, I can see it from such a clear perspective when my clients move through it. So the first thing is like how safe you are in this moment. And I
Mm,
actually bring celebration in. I had a client say, well, I wouldn't be celebrating myself if I wouldn't be celebrating a client if they were moving through this. But I was like, yeah, but let's bring joy into this because if we see it from the perspective that things are rearranging,
mm,
can we now see it from the perspective that actually this is serving you? And
mm,
can we get then excited and lean into the joy and the anticipation of what's coming from here? And then she's like, oh, yeah, okay. So it's like the consciousness starts to shift and the frequency shifts. But I think ultimately it's about coming back to that internal safety. And as you said, coming back home. And a lot of the work I do is stillness and bringing my clients back to a state of connection with their divine self. And I work a lot with activating their God self and really bringing through divine currencies and frequencies to create stillness. Because I think often what happens in those moments where we want to freak out, and we do, it's usually because we're looking for the external evidence, right? Like, am I safe? Is money coming? Are the client sales coming? And so we're kind of conditioned to be looking externally. But what I bring my clients back into in those moments and how I hold myself as well when I go through similar dances of duality, right? Of like the spectrum either
Mm,
end, it's, well, remembering firstly that our power is unconditional and not looking at the external to validate that, you know?
mm,
And my my journey, I think, as well, has been, and when I work with clients around these experiences, it really is creating that space of stillness and that reconnection. And a lot of it is actually clearing the external collective energies and stories and thought forms. And often when women step in at that time, the very first thing we do is like, let's unhook from all of everyone else. Let's unhook from all of the conditions, all the rules at play in business, in social media, you know, what you've been picking up on, all the frequencies, and actually recreate that stillness, because then you've got that internal safety. And then as we start to connect to their higher frequencies and their higher self, then that safety solidifies in a different way. It's felt in a different way. And it's like, okay, these things externally might not be flowing in physically yet, but I know in the quantum field it's already created. And so I can return back to that knowing and that deep internal state of being again. It all comes back to like being in the present, you know? So,
mm. I love that. And it's such an art form, mastering the void and being able to stay still and trust and understand the process, like understanding that everything is changing, as you said, and it's like the physical body is changing, and people are like,
yeah.
I don't understand why I'm purging or things are happening, and we don't have to manifest these things, but it's just allowing the days
Mm,
when you don't want to get up off the couch. It's like, this couch is my $1 million throne, it's like rest is a growth strategy, like the nervous system's regulating and recalibrating to new frequencies and new ways of being. So I love that you said that, because especially for women, we're
yeah.
so conditioned to be like men. And
Mm,
anybody that's listening to the podcast, you may not be able to see the way that Jen is holding herself. You're probably hearing the tone of her voice, but she has a really beautiful feminine energy. Like, you just have this really soft, angelic aura. And it's so beautiful to, yeah, be in presence of that. And I'm curious, because our stories have so many similarities. Were you always this way, or did you have to decondition from the masculine hustle? And, I feel like if you if you're anything like me, the childhood that we had to be proving and doing, and we had to survive the depression. We wouldn't have made it out alive. So I'm
mm,
curious what the energetics looked like between the masculine, the wounded masculine, the feminine,
mm,
and how you
mm.
were able to go from the start of your life to the woman that you are now, that's so
Morning
deeply.
from sunny Bali. The birds are singing. The sun is smiling. It is a beautiful day. It's a beautiful day. Don't let it get away. Touch me. Take me to that other place. You always have to listen to my terrible singing. But I know that I'm not a disgrace. What you don't have, you don't need it now. Okay, you've heard my terrible singing. I'm very, very, very excited because the 11th of June is my birthday, and guess what? I have channeled my first book. It is called You Are Wealth, and this is so exciting. I'm going to have a book launch party, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. Bali time. So check what that time is for you. Replays will be available. It is going to be so fun. We're going to do some psychic readings. We're going to do some activations into your new wealth timeline. I am even going to do a life force energy wealth consciousness activation. So that's going to be at the end. So you don't have to stay for that if you don't feel the call, but it is very, 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 very potent inner work. So if you do feel the call, come and have a ball, because there is room for all. What was I going to say? It's going to be so much fun. So usually I charge a lot more for this because I'm celebrating, because it's my birthday. It's only, well, actually, I don't want to say the price right now. Check it out there because the price will go up. It is early bird, but it is very, very, very affordable. It's very, very affordable. So everybody can come and join. I want to thank you for being here with me, for being with me over the last few years in this group, on my YouTube, on my podcast, wherever you are watching this journey unfold for me. It has been such a crazy journey into my life's medicine, into my soul's truth, into constantly up leveling and changing the restructure of my business to follow the call of God, angel, source, universe, divine. So I just love you. As you know, I love to rhyme, I love to have a good time, and really just allow you to remember that life is for fun. You don't have to be so serious. You've already won. It's a crazy, 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 crazy world. But you're here because you chose all of it. You chose all of it. You chose the light, you chose the dark, you chose all of it. And together we get to navigate that, and we get to have fun, and we get to play, we get to dance. So these are the wealth codes that your soul has already known, that has been inside of you for all along. So when you're ready to activate those codes, you're ready to literally just get paid to exist, to get paid when you're lying on the couch, get paid when you're lying in the sun, get paid when you're in the sauna, when you're in the ice bath, when you're at the gym. If you feel the call, come and have a ball. The link is below. You already know. And I'm going to go live out my crazy, crazy, crazy day. I love you all so much. Big love, wealthy old souls. And I will chat to you very, very soon. If you have any questions, pop them below. But it is just such an honor to share this with each and every one of you, to celebrate with you, and just keep staying true. Stay true to you. And yeah, I don't have any other crazy songs in my head, so I will leave it there. Big love, wealthy old souls.
Now that's so deeply embodied in this healthy feminine energy, because I find that that's such a big part. And then I'd also love you to touch on dark feminine energy and how you hold the boundaries with this
Mm,
softness, because I think it's so important. If we're too dark, we don't have any friends, and we're not, we're not fully in the magnetism. We're just these crazy bitches that are just like cutting everyone off. And if we're too
yeah.
soft, we get, run over. So if you could talk us
Mm,
through how you got, you know, from there to here, because I find that such a big journey for my clients, because they are the overachievers. They are
yes.
had to perform to get mommy and daddy's love, just like I used to be. And so,
Yeah.
yeah, talk us through
Yeah.
that journey. And if you can give us like some tangible, techniques and things that you used on a day-to-day basis to get you there, because as much as we'd all love to say it happened overnight, it doesn't. The third dimension is very slow. And while we
Mm,
can quantum leap, you have to walk to get water. You've got to walk to do
mm.
things. You've got to jump in the car and drive. So yeah, talk us through that journey for you.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I grew up with two very hardworking parents, as a high school teacher. My dad worked on a golf course as a superintendent out in the hot sun all day long, and so very like typical sort of Aussie jobs, and like very much the hardworking. And so I was working a job since I was 14 years old. And I say that I haven't stopped, but now I don't work. I just purpose and I just live. And then, it's so different the way that I see it now. But I was so diligent on working hard, being a good student, then fell into that teenage depression years where it really was then the other side of that where I was like the party girl. So it was like the rebellious teenager. And I feel like that's the wounded dark feminine stage for me, where I was just angry and like, angry at the world, angry at my parents, angry at myself, and just in a lot of frustration. But then I quickly sort of moved, not quickly, but like over a series of years, I would say moved into then still holding that like party girl era, but then what, like getting back into what is my career? What's my purpose? And I was obsessed with figuring out what I was going to do and never quite felt fulfilled in that. Um, and I feel like I went through such a paradigm and so many years of that conditioning where it's go to university, tick all the boxes, have the good job, keep keep ticking all the boxes of what success looks like. And a lot of my clients are the same. It's like we're high achieving women, but underneath we're feeling this continual pressure to like have it all perfect.
Mm.
Um, and so I had a lot of unconditioning to do around that to come back into, again, that state of being, and to remember that work doesn't equal true wealth. Like the more that I pour in physically, because I was just seeing through the physical lens, because my conditioning with my parents, right? It's like more physical hours, the more you will create. But I was doing more and not feeling good at all. I was doing more and I was having all of these health symptoms come up. This is when I worked. I worked in the fashion industry. I worked in art. I've always worked in creative jobs. Um, I wanted to own an art gallery when I left school. That was like sort of the big vision, and then that quickly changed. But, I worked in different media and creative jobs, but I was working, 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 and then had so much anxiety. So much anxiety. And then I would numb it by partying and sort of like numb it down and not feel anything. And so then as I started to, well, I always say I didn't choose it. I feel like my soul was just like, Jenna, we're going. Like it's time to shift out of here. It's time to follow me. It's time to look at something different beyond this box of safety. And that was when I started studying as a health coach and went into my whole journey early on with nutrition because I was moving through that myself. So this is like, very much when I was like early 20s and very lost still and not connected to what I was here to do on the bigger mission. But there was always just that voice of like, test this out, try this, go here. Um, and so, I think overall, as I then quit my job, went into business, many years of figuring that out too, and leading to the work that I do today, that whole journey was a journey of seeing from a different perspective that it's not about the strategies we use, it's not about the hours we pour in,
Mm.
it's not about the physical time, it's about the frequency and it's about the bigger soul purpose work. And the more that I started to, as you said, like trust the illogical and like just do illogical things and non-linear things, and even like push the boundaries of like how good could this be? And like show me how I can live in this state of being and just create and fall in love with the art of creation. And so now my whole process of seeing that and like the way that I move in a feminine energy now and also navigate the dark feminine is I, well, let me like sort of like bring it back. It's sort of, I feel like now my emotional intelligence is of such a different level because I allow myself to just express and like the dark feminine sacred rage and all of these moments where we're healing and we're just letting energy move through us rather than attaching to the emotion or rather than suppressing it. And
Mm.
so, growing up, being an angry teenager and feeling unsafe and feeling annoyed and feeling like, why am I in this family sometimes? And what is this life? And suppressing all of that for so many years to now expressing that really healthily and having these moments where energy just moves. And then I'm able to hold myself in a different way now because I know that it's actually just energy clearing.
Mm.
And so that to me is the experience of the dark feminine from that angle. Obviously, there's so many levels to it, of course, that we could get into. But the more sort of expanded feminine energy is too, and the way that I live my life now, which I feel you're so much like that as well, or just a state of being and creating, it really is about my energy fulfillment and what gives me life force energy. And at this stage of my business, I've been running businesses for 10 years now. I'm not available to do anything that I don't desire. Like I simply just really move from the signal of my frequency and what brings me joy and what expands me and what my soul is calling me into, rather than, oh, I need to do this because this is how it's done in the coaching space, or this is what this
Mm.
mentor does, or falling into that sort of pattern of I'm missing something. Because that's the sneaky bit where the high achieving women think that they're not good enough or that we need to do more. But the more
Mm.
that I embrace my energy and embrace what my body is telling me is right and embrace rest and then when I move. Like I'm like a jaguar.
Mm.
Like I'm like I get a lot done when I'm really aligned, right? That's like my spirit animal. I feel I'm like so connected to it. It's like I just move and I get a lot done. And I
Mm.
move mountains, I always say when I'm like on. And then I might be having a nap like an hour later and I'm just allowing that, And then I'm with my kids and it's like just a dance. So yeah,
Mm.
I feel, you know, it's a bigger part of my work as well, is reminding women of just how powerful they are when we connect back to our energy and what is where our life force is and what we desire to do, and allowing our work to be a state of creation. And I think I read one of your posts where it was like, get paid to exist or something like that. I was like, yes, that's how I live too. It's so beautiful. It's like that really is what we're here to be and do. So
Yeah, I love that. As you were saying, that was like the clairvoyance download I got was just like seeing the energy fully shift from like here to here instead
mm,
of from here to here, because how most people are living their lives is so externally based. It's like,
yeah.
I'm going to start a coaching business. And so they go and find someone like you or I. And we're constantly saying things like, use discernment, see how this lands for you.
Mm,
And still then, people are like, you said to do this, so I did it. And it's like, cool, did you check in to see if you were meant to do that? Because I'm
exactly.
channeling, but you need to use discernment every day. Like, you need to take your power back. You need to know
Mm,
what's for you is for you. You need to know when to rest. You need to know when to move. And that doesn't come from the external reality. That
yeah.
doesn't come from an astrology reading. That
Yeah.
comes from you knowing yourself better than anything else and
Mm,
going, oh, I'm like riding the quantum waves, and it is feeling into the energy of riding the quantum waves and being like, okay, this doesn't feel in alignment. And the level of discernment, I don't know, I'm sure you've been through this, but the initiations we've had to go through to be at this level of discernment, like the
yes.
ability to say, yep, I'll come to your party, and then a minute later go, oh no, sorry, it's not aligned. Like it's, and people would look at it and go, oh, you're indecisive. It's like, no,
Mm,
I was literally just timeline jumping within that minute because
yeah.
I decided to create my book, or I decided to do this, or I decided to do that. It's like, it's
Yeah.
not logical.
Yeah.
And we try to put labels on everything and shove everything into a box and make everything mean something. But to really live in that God energy, that God source, it is being able to ride the quantum waves and do
Absolutely.
what you were saying with the, look after the kids here and do this here. But if we were to do it from conditioning, we wouldn't have anything left to play with the kids at the end of the day. Like
Mm,
we wouldn't have any, and I always laugh because my kids see me dance every day. Like they must think I'm the biggest loser because I'm just like, good morning.
that's
Like
me.
I
I'm like, let's get up for school. And my daughter's like, okay.
in my head, I'm like, man, you guys are so lucky. Like they are so lucky to have us. The level of
Yes.
emotional intelligence that they have at a young age, because we've explained the journey to them. Because we're like, you're not your body, you're not any of this. You're just experiencing life through this
Yeah.
version of you, and you've chosen all of this, and you don't have to get stuck in any of it. You
Yeah.
choose again, and you get to really enjoy the journey. And I don't know about you, but my early years of being a mom, because my oldest is 11, I've seen how much I've quantum leaped through the energy shifts of my children. Like
Oh, yeah.
from the intense tantrum days where my nervous system was not regulated at all, to
Yes.
now where it's almost like we can't have a bad day. One might throw a tantrum for 2 minutes, but I'm so regulated that
Yeah.
it turns into like the other night, they all wanted to go to bed and they were just being silly. And they came in. Have you seen The Sound of Music?
Hmm.
They're like that good night song. They're like, so long,
Yes.
farewell. Because there's three of them. They all just started singing. I was like, oh my
Oh,
gosh,
that's so
this is
cute.
my life. But it was the like surreal moment where I was like, oh my gosh, like my crazy dancingness is actually being reflected back to me.
Yeah.
Like it's, and I don't dance for any reason other than it makes me happy. I'm not
Yeah.
trying to stop them tantruming because they can do whatever they want. But it's just like I love being silly. Like I love playing and enjoying the journey. And I feel like that's feminine energy. Like just
100%.
being in our zone, our bliss.
Yeah. And just creating. I mean, I love that. My son is 1 and my daughter's 5. And so, oh, he's nearly 2. And so we've got, there's a lot of like tantrums in my house. And I'm just like, all right, guys, like, and it's interesting seeing the energy shifting when you lead differently and you hold different space for children. And it's such a gift. Like, that's such a gift to me to see that, because I never had that. I didn't have emotional stability. and in my household. And so it's so beautiful to like bring that to them now. So yeah, I love
Mm.
seeing that for you too.
I love that. Yeah, I love that. Like it's such a huge testament to us because we could have gone the other way where we were like our
Yeah.
parents and screamed at the drop of a hat and
Yeah.
created all of this instability. And the work makes a difference. You know, it's turning up every single day. And at the
Mm.
start, for me, it felt like I was chasing. Like I was so chasing. I was like, my gosh, I just need to be high vibe. I just need to be high vibe. And it was like years of like trying to meditate. And well, I was doing all the things. I was meditating, but it never felt like anything fully clicked because I was
Mm.
chasing the high, chasing the high,
Yes.
chasing the high. And it took me to have like a really deep spiritual awakening about 10 years ago and activate the Kundalini frequency where I was like, oh my gosh, like it's all and do all these crazy psychedelic things, which I don't recommend for everybody. Like it's if you feel called, go and do it. But it was crazy. And as you were speaking before, what came through was really interesting because you're talking a lot about safety in the body and it's so important. The safety piece is so important. But there's also the duality of this world, right? And so
Mm.
going after our wildest dreams is not safe to our nervous system. So I want to know how you look at that for yourself and for your clients. Like, how do we navigate this duality of we need safety in the body, we've got to feel safe. But if we're too safe and we don't lean
Mm.
into the uncertainty, like we'll just stay stuck, we'll never actually go after our wildest dreams, you know, scary to the nervous system. So,
Yeah.
talk us through how you navigate that because it is an art form.
I mean, it so is. And I think it's so individual as well for each client that I work with. But I will say, for me, it was even looking at nervous system regulation and sort of shifting that into recalibration and just even the energy of like, let me lean into this edge and this new expansion points. Um, I know that the key work for it all is knowing that connection to our God self and our divinity, because that shifted so much for me. Because then I always say, like, my God self holds my human self. It's like it's holding Jenna, and I can see myself not as Jenna. Like I can be the part of me that is divine frequency and divine intelligence and see the human Jenna and like love on her and hold her. And that's come from like years of inner child work and connecting back to that internal state of safety with all versions of me. In a teenager was a big one for me, and probably for you too, with our journeys being similar. And it's like that was sort of the beginning of my healing stage and what I move through, and what a lot of my clients actually start with that sort of work, that more foundational work too, if they haven't experienced that before. But then
Mm,
we start to shift into a deeper connection beyond the human. And that's where I find that the nervous system, like for me personally, it almost like it does recalibrate from that state, and we can lean in and expand that experience of what we're here to step into next, knowing that sure, we're going to have maybe some bodily responses of this doesn't feel safe, or I feel nervous, or I feel anxiety, or self-sabotage or avoidance coming through. Avoidance was like my biggest pattern that I had to really look through. Um, but then there's, I think it's, to me, it's all about like, where am I giving more of my frequency? So I can navigate the nervous system and where the safety zone is. But then if I'm staying in that and just working with that, then I'm always just going to be staying in that same patterning and that same level. Versus, can I connect to, and not even necessarily always through meditation, but I do a lot of different activations of my clients through the subtle bodies and really bringing them up beyond collective chakra points and beyond collective frequency into their divinity. And once we work with that energy and bring it down through the body into the physical body, it shifts everything.
mm,
And then it's like, just naturally, I see there's like a flow on effect. I call it the woman of wealth effect in my work, because it's like, I was like, what is the name for how do I describe this work? I was like, it's the woman of wealth effect. It's just the outcome
mm,
of where we're giving our energy, what we're pouring our energy into. And then the nervous system, I find, adapts to that. It's almost like that stronger frequency and currency is the one guiding it. So to me, it's sort of like a dance with each client if I'm working with them privately. And it's different for each person, obviously, with their background, their trauma, what they're coming in with. But for me personally, that's what I found has been the biggest key is yes, we regulate, but then there's also that recalibration point. And
Mm,
I know many times of that bigger pivotal points for me have been when I've just let myself lean in and let myself move through. This is how my nervous system is responding and seeing it not from my human self, but seeing it from a higher perspective and like holding energy for Jenna as she moves through it. And I know
mm.
that most people would be like, that sounds crazy, but this is where these conversations can be had, right? Because it's like the more that I actually experience myself and experience Jenna and like love on her and hold her as then that higher version of me holds that human self, it's like it shifts everything in the way that we can just move through our day-to-day life.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
I love that so much. It's so many things came through as you were saying that. I was like, everyone that's listening to this podcast has got their weird flag flying high. Like I literally talk about like past lives and weird. I'm like, I used to be on planet Sirius and people are like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh, I was there too. And I'm like, yeah, like it's
Yeah.
whereas if you were to
Casual.
go into a family gathering and say things like that, they would just be like, is there a mental health unit here? But you and
Yes.
like living in Bali, isolate, like you just everyone gets it. It's a little bit weird to
Yes. I
be
love
here
Bali.
and not get it. But
Uh,
I was so funny as you were saying that my guides were like, it was just like joking like a school exam, like tick, 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 like you A plus plus, but it's and you're right, anyone listening to this, always use discernment. Like there's a million and one ways, but I really believe that too. I think something I really had to accept on my journey was God. And I'm not a religious woman. I believe all religions were teachers on the planet once upon a time, but I was always connected to this source that I called God. And most people that are doing the work that we do have this resonance with the word, however you want to see it. You don't need to see it as a man in the sky, just like pure
yeah.
God source energy. But I was actually
Mm.
speaking at an event last week, and a few people were saying, I'm so triggered by that word. And I was
Yeah.
like, I get it. I was so triggered. It
Me
took me
too.
maybe a
Me too.
year to say the word God. Like I couldn't get it out. I was like, I connect to
Mhm.
this thing that I call God all the time, but I don't
Mhm.
want people to put me in a religious box because I'm not religious.
Yeah.
I don't have anything against any religion, but I just don't want to be put in a religious box because that's not
Mm.
what I am in this lifetime.
Yeah.
But it's what you said, because you have to have something that's holding the certainty. You need
Mm.
something there that you are connecting with. The invisible creates the visible, and the
Mhm.
visible is such a small percentage of it. So how do we really change the visible? Well, we have to fully change the invisible. And if we don't have help, if we don't have support, if we don't know that we're being guided, and there's nothing in this world that's wrong. It's like, cool, you're desiring this dream life. Well, sorry, this partner was never part of that dream vision. This, job was never a part of that dream vision.
Yeah.
These friends were never part of the dream vision. And your ego is like, well, what are we doing? Like, I want this life, but can't I take? No, no, you cannot, because they can't hold the frequency of this life. And it's not to say that this frequency is better than this frequency, but they're different songs, and these people don't know how to dance to this frequency.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's just understanding the rules of the third dimensional reality. We have to let
Yeah.
things go. And if you don't have that connection to God, source, divine, as you were saying, and I'm not going to limit people, but it's going to take a lot longer. It's going to
Yeah.
quite a challenging journey because you're like the blind leading the blind. You need
And the ego's leading as well. Yes.
the
Yeah.
conditioning. It's like you're trying to play God. And let's play with this for a bit because this is quite fun. It's like when you're trying to play God and you're like your ego wants to know everything that's happening. And it's like, how do we keep our power and still be okay to be led when it makes no sense, to still be
Mhm.
okay to follow this light that we need to trust, this light that's not fully on this third dimension. It's like it's too bright for this reality, but we've got to
Yeah.
trust it. And so
Mhm.
how do we do that when, because we don't want to fully give up all of our power and just be like these victim consciousness people that's like, God's got it, I'm not going to do anything. It's like
Mm.
we've got to have this like, I'm the most powerful person in my reality. this is
Yeah.
what I desire. This is my truth. This is what I'm here for. I am wealth. I am all the things, and holding that power. And then at the same time going, now you lead me. Now you guide
Mhm.
me.
Yeah.
It's such a
It's
dance.
huge. It's huge. Yeah. And I always say to my clients to sort of help them grasp it because it's some of them, it's like, whoa, it is big. And I remember using the word God for the first time as well, growing up atheist conditioning. And it was like, can I say this? Like, can I really say this? And now it's just, I say it 1,000 times a day. But one thing that I say to my clients is experience it as co-creating with God and as God, with God and as God. So it's like this with as dynamic, because as a fractal of source, you have full energetic command over the reality that you're creating. And then there is a bigger frequency in which you're a part of. So it's sort of like this experience to me of like, as an example, on a day-to-day basis, I will ask source, tell me what wants to come through me today. Like, what is the message that's pouring through me? What would you have me do? And then often what will come through is something that maybe my ego's like, well, really? Are we really going to post that on the internet today? So it's sort of this like invitation of the ego dancing with the soul and with source. But one thing that helped me in that journey was knowing that the ego is here to serve us. The ego isn't leading, it's not the director. It wants to be. And many people are leading, letting it be the director. But the ego is such a loving part of us that is here to serve our source mission and what we're here to create. So it is a dance, isn't it? Like there's no real, and again, like I love that you always say use discernment, because anyone listening, it's like find what works for you. Like for me, that's how I've navigated it, and how I know it'll probably shift and evolve as well as I continue to evolve. But there's something really healing for me about speaking to my ego on a day-to-day basis, speaking to the conditioned self, letting her know how safe she is, showing her all the evidence of when we've gone down the illogical path and how amazing and beautiful it is. And like the other thing for me is falling in love with the manifestation process, because I think so often when we hear about manifestation, everyone's like, future timeline, I will feel this once I hit this goal or this outcome. And we're so obsessed with like when it's going to happen that we forget like we are creating right now, and we are creation consciousness. And that to me is like a gift. That's where it's like there's no pressure anymore. And there's no sort of milestones to hit. It's just like life is here now, So yeah.
Yeah, it's so crazy because we've been so conditioned that everything's outside of us. And
Yeah.
if we don't get the manifestation, we're not going to be happy. But like the manifestation is your grocery list. It's like, okay, I'm going to go to the shops and I'm going to get this food. And it's like, but the real goal is enjoying going to the shops, like, and not even enjoying it, just being present, because we don't want to also be in these loops of, I have to be happy. I've got like the goals to be happy. It's like, no, you just have to be. Like we came here just like video game characters, just to like experience and be, and, really just, I mean, like I love enjoyment, I love happiness, but happiness is a byproduct of being whole.
Yeah.
It's not always chasing something outside of us. It's realizing that this is the goal. Like this conversation right now, this is wealth, this is abundance, like being able to meet people all around the world, being able to just see how much we've grown. And
Mm,
I, like yourself, I love the hard times, because I get to look myself in the mirror and go, man, this didn't push you over the edge. Look how like strong your energetic capacity is. And
yeah.
then through those moments, I'm like, of course I can hold these clients. Of course I can do this. Like I've walked through
Mm,
hell and back a million times. Like
mm,
this is nothing. And it always reminds me that like nothing in this reality can actually hurt you because you've created it. It's like
yeah.
watching a movie. Like the screen can't really jump out and strangle you. Like
Yeah.
you're choosing to watch the movie and go, oh my gosh, like I shouldn't be watching this movie. It's like just fucking look away. And it's not
Yeah.
about bypassing, but it's like, why are you choosing to keep watching the same fucking movie? Like, why are
Exactly.
you just like watching
The
it again?
consciousness loop. Yeah, absolutely. It's like, what timeline are you seeing through, And that's something that I think just the moment of like knowing you can choose again in every moment is so freeing as well.
Mm.
Just that choice moment and that presence. It's not about like having to feel a certain way or like be attached to a certain feeling. It's like, even this morning I was like frustrated about something. I was like, well, let me just feel the frustration. Like, okay, it's not me. I'm not frustration. I'm moving through the energy of frustration. It's just portaling through me. Right. It's like, and then it's gone, then it's cleared. And it's like, I really believe like the leaders and the women that are rising right now and creating this new earth and like you and I and just sculpting this new frequency, like it's about that emotional, energetic capacity and just being able to be in it and through it and then shift it and choose again, and there's just so much liberation in that because that's when we get to come back to that clear state and actually hear our intelligence, and when I say intelligence, I mean beyond the human mind, like that higher state of intelligence. And um, and I think that's where wealth naturally is the byproduct in all ways of who we be. So
Mm. I love that so much. It really is just like I always look at it like it's just flowing through to expand your vessel. Like
yeah,
it's just channeling through. Like you just in like if I feel anything, I'm just like, awesome, thank you. Like there's no, because what do they say? Energy in motion only lasts 68 seconds. Whether that's
mm,
true or not, it's like you can only keep it stuck there if you keep looping. And
mm,
like I love it because I look at it like I'm always clearing to get to the next level. It's
yes,
like it's just naturally moving through me. I'm like, it has an intelligence that my ego is not aware of. So I'm just like,
yeah,
cool, thank you. And like,
yeah,
like you've obviously, okay, whoop, like it's almost like a explosion. Sometimes you're like, oh, okay, whoop, we're going places, like rocket ship going
yeah.
up. I'm like, oh, this is fun. Like, where are we going? Like,
Yes, exactly. It's like the excitement again. It comes back to that. It's like we can have that duality of and I don't label any emotions good or bad or in between. It's just an energy. That's so freeing. It's so freeing. I remember when I was so attached to my emotions and like my labels, and then un revealing all of that and letting go of all of that is huge. Because it's like, well, then who am I without all of that? So there's just such an interesting shift that happens. So
like it's just like jumping on a roller coaster every day, right? Like you
yes,
wake up, you're on the roller coaster, you're like, oh, surprise, like, woo! And it's
here
just
we
like,
are.
oh yeah, it's just like contraction, expansion. And so I
Mhm.
love like I don't think every woman needs to, be a mom or be like give childbirth in this lifetime, but having that experience of understanding the contraction and expansion
Mhm.
process and how nature works, it's all contraction, expansion. Like that's just how everything grows. And there's always tension. Like you don't turn into the caterpillar or go from the caterpillar to the butterfly without tension. Like wings don't
Yeah.
just come out effortlessly. Like it,
Yeah.
they do come out effortlessly, but there's tension in the physical body. There's tension
Hmm.
in the growth process. So
Mm-mm.
yeah, I love all of that so much. So if there was one like message that you could share with the entire world, and I know this message will change probably in the next 6 months when you go through a massive up level again and always up leveling. But
Um,
yeah, if there was one message that you could share with the world, one piece of advice or anything you could channel through, what would that be?
mm. What's really present right now in this season of my work and mission is reminding each person of their intelligence beyond how we see intelligence in this world and how it's been
Mm,
structured, getting a degree, having a flashy job, whatever it might be.
mm,
That's an aspect of the ego's intelligence, but I'm talking about really hearing our divine intelligence and that voice of knowing. And I think if we can create our own practice or our own state of being to connect to that, even if it's new, even if it feels like, what am I doing here? But like starting to really connect into that and clear external interference so that you can develop more of a connection. I really deeply believe that when we're connected to that on an individual level, we are going to shift the frequency of our world. And I think we're in such a powerful frequency moment in history as well. Yeah, so it's bringing people back to the knowing it's bringing people back into their knowing. Knowing is the word. It's like that you do know what's right for you, that you do know what your soul wants, that you do know what you're here to create, and knowing how safe you are to say yes to that.
mm.
Really, that's always been my message, but right now it's coming through in that form. But it's, yeah, it's reminding people of their power.
So powerful, and it's so much conditioning around the structures of what intelligence is with things like IQ tests. And
Yep.
it's like, let's be honest, everyone that runs insane businesses is not, like, quote unquote normal. They're not fitting the normal structure. You look at people like
Yeah.
Mr. Beast, that, biggest YouTuber of all time. It's like they're just, everyone's either like, dyslexia or ADHD or all these boxes. And it's like,
Yeah.
why do we neurodivergent, like, put all these boxes for people that don't fit the norm? And it's like,
Mm,
I
mm.
think standing out is the best thing in the world. I really don't like fitting in. Like,
Yes.
oh my
Love it.
gosh. Well, that was incredible. So many massive, massive golden nuggets for so many beautiful women out there that are looking to up level and evolve into wherever their soul leads them. Wherever their soul leads them. Where is the best place for everybody to come and find you?
Hmm. So either Instagram at jennablack.co or my website, jennablack.co as well. But Instagram is usually where I'm mostly hanging out. So come and say hi. Send me a message if you listen to it. I always love chatting after interviews with people that tuned in and hearing what the nuggets are. And yeah, reach out.
Amazing. Thank you so much. We'll put everything in the show notes for all of you. It has been a pleasure having you here. And
Thank
thank
you.
you so much for your time in beautiful, rainy Sydney today.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate it. Such a joy to speak with you.
You
Thank
too,
you.
beautiful soul.